Hello, I'm EnterElysium and welcome back to From the Depths. Okay, so From the Depths is getting a massive update. This update is coming out very shortly, like basically later tonight, and I'm recording it like at 5 o'clock on the 26th of October, 2015, if you happen to be really late to this. And it is coming out really soon. The changes are going to be between what I'm currently playing and the actual finished update are some bug fixes and maybe some ever so slight balancing, but this is going to be very representative of the final product. We're currently playing a dev version, but it's like so close to the final dev version. Also, all lasers seem to have turned white. I am not sure why that's happened. It's not sure if that's meant to be a case, but all lasers seem to have turned white currently. Strange. Anyway, the update is all about cannons. It's, well, mostly about cannons. Nearly all of it is really about cannons. And it's all about updating the cannon system. So you still have the old custom cannons, but you also have advanced cannons. And these advanced cannons are going to replace, eventually, the custom cannons. So basically, stop using custom cannons and use advanced cannons. And they allow a lot more creativity, flexibility, and they're a lot more in-depth, and yes, they are more complex than custom cannons. You can actually change the ammo that they're firing. There's certain types of ammo you can design your own ammo, like you do with missiles. So this is a demonstration. It's not maybe the best or most optimum, but it's a demonstration of what you can do. This is a railgun. So if we go back to my little character, hello, you can see I have access to the gun, and it aims. Turn around, good gun. There we go. Yes, and this big spinning thing around it is the railgun rails, and these are charging up, and any projectile going through here will get a railgun speed increase of 760 meters per second. Excellent. Boop. Projectile going 3 kilometers per second, which is actually fairly realistic for a railgun. 1,356 kinetic damage, and arm piercing of 100. This is pretty cool. And it does take a while to... Ooh, hello, Snow. It does take a while to reload and recharge between shots. So if I fire the gun... So you can see the charge is going back up. 30,000. 37,000. It's reloaded. 44, 45, 46, and 48. There we go. So basically that's the time between shots. So that you could fire faster when it reloads, but you'd have less charge, which means less power. And it fires shells if I jump down here. That produce down here. Now, you don't need to do this. This is me messing about. You can just have one. But this is the shell it's firing. Whoops. Hello. So this is a new system where you can actually design the custom parts of the shell. Each of these is like a block of shell. So it's gunpowder, 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 Sabo warhead. And I'll talk about Sabo warheads and other type of warheads in a bit. But the important thing to note is I'm firing like an entirely gunpowder thing here, which will have an expected muzzle velocity of 2 kilometers per second, and it's added another 800 meters per second via the rails. And it's pretty cool. So if I was just to demonstrate what it can do, let's spawn in an Atlas. Over there, okay, well we need to turn the ship. Okay, feel free to start shooting at will. And there you go, you see like blocks coming off it. There's a hole. Oh, hello. Don't fire missiles at me, I've got anti-missile defenses. There's a hole that's been ripped through several decks there, like look at that. I can't really get a good view because it's moving. But a hole has been ripped through several decks, so let's go backwards to try and keep ourselves on target for a while. And what will happen is the arm-piercing round is so good that it will just carry on through the ship and out the top side. You can see there actually are holes up here, like there. And I'm trying to find the one in the rear. There we go. You can see a black block there. I think that's been damaged by an arm-penetrating round. It's hard to see because it's moving. And currently it's trying to pick off the ammo supply. Come on, railgun. Take it out! There we go, it took out the ammo supply. And that's the great thing about these ridiculous railgun arm-penetrating rounds you can create, is that they do very little damage, they just drill a hole. But if you can hit the ammo supply, it's great for picking out like important components. You can take out the AI, you can take out the ammo supply, as we have done. We can make the ship entirely capturable. We need to stop going backwards so much. There we go. You see, it's taken out everything in the back, it's now choosing to target things at the front. It looks like it's targeting the turret's AI. Yeah, it took out the turret's AI, and now the ship is despawning because it has no AI. AI dead. Yep, there you go. And that is some of the stuff you can do with the new ammo system. Now, there is a lot more to the new ammo system than just crazy railguns that can punch us through anything. There's actually a lot more to it. And I'm probably going to have to cover railguns in a separate video or something, because there is so much to talk about. But let's go find a little bit more of a stable platform away from a ship. Probably an island. There is a nearby island, I think. Although I cannot see it right now. Where is the island? There it is. We'll go to that island, and we'll start talking about all the different things you can do and all the different components in a second. I don't know why I'm singing the Jurassic Park theme tune. Oh, hello. No, I don't want that. And we've made land. Okay, you can calm down now, David Potter. Come. Oh, you want to go on land completely? Oh, that's fine. That's completely fine. I actually don't want you on land completely. Can we? There we go. Stop the engine. Thank you. I hope you're okay. You're mostly okay. I kind of like that. We should put more beach ships all over everywhere. Right. Yep, you are completely out of the water. Excellent. Right, so I'm going to build a platform, and then we're going to put some stuff on the platform. We're going to talk about what the different blocks do, what you can do with cannons, and then maybe we'll try out one or two, because, hey, it's fun. And the David Potter is still there because I need something to defend me against missiles in case I spawn something that has missiles. Because it has a reasonable missile defense. Okay, so... Oh, god damn it. There we go. So, here we go. Here's our lovely platform. You can see that I put some arrow barrels over there so that if they get blown up, they don't destroy everything. Those ammo barrels are just going to provide us with ammo. They're just boring, bog-standard ammo barrels. And this is a boring, bog-standard one-axis turret. So... you may ask, well, where are these lovely cannons? If we enter build mode, you will see we have the advanced cannons. We have a whole load of things. So, first of all, 6-way connector does what it says on the tin. It is a 6-way connector for your cannons. It will allow stuff to attach. Advanced firing piece, very much like a custom cannon firing piece, is just the piece where the shells go in, the boom boom comes out, death comes out the front. They do have attachment points. You will see they also have a bottom, as you can tell there, like with that flat piece on the bottom. And you can put stuff on the front. Now, here is the important stuff. Mantles. You could just put a barrel on the front, but then it would literally be like, I can only shoot to where I'm pointing. It can't go up or down. I mean, if you had like a 2-axis turret, it could. But mantles are amazing. So let's go to mantles. No, mantles. There we go. There are several different types of mantles. There are the 1x1 Omni Mantle, boop, 1x1 Elevation, 3x3 Omni Mantle, 3 Elevation, and a 2-meter tall AA Mantle. So what this does is, if I grab a load of barrels, we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the end for the purposes currently. And if I select the gun, look, I can actually go up and down within the limits of that mantle. So, of course, I can't point down too much or up too much, and I can point to the side even without the turret turning. You can see that it's actually pointing to the side and the turret's then turning to help. So it allows you to really get a quicker aim at fast-moving targets, etc., or to be able to go up and down in a turret which can't really do that. So a turret which is like flush with the floor on which it is. So if I then go something a little bit more fun, like you can go for 303, which gives you massive ability to turn left and right, or, as I really like, the anti-air mantle. Look at that. All the way up. All the way down. Now, of course, it doesn't have any left-right. It has some left-right, but it's very minimal. Very minimal. It depends really on the turret to turn. But this is really what you want for, in fact, most purposes, because it's just so good. It does, however, block off certain access points to the side of the firing turret. Or at least it did. Let's find out if it still happens. So if I go away from that. So mantles. Mantles are super important. I've chucked barrels on the front, but actually barrels are kind of the last thing you want to deal with. So right now, I'm going to leave the barrels as they are. I'm going to talk about other things. So that's what you need to have your turret, basically, you know, as a turret. However, you need to be able to load shells, and you need to be able to make shells, because now, instead of just taking ammo and then dumping it into the turret and then firing the ammo, you actually have to do a load of other stuff. Ooh. advanced projectile system in this step-by-step tutorial. How lovely. So you need stuff like autoloads, etc. We're going to go and we're going to deal with the actual creation of ammo itself. So go to the hull. And we're going to go over here just to keep it away from the turret. You need an ammo controller. So an ammo controller is the thing that controls and makes you ammo. And this ammo is the certain type that you design that you then can feed to a turret. So this is a Flak Monkey Mark 9, which has a monkey in the... That's how our shells are guided. That explains it. Right, so you need ammo customizer, and you can add however many you want, right? You can add 1, you can add 4, you could add a lot. We're going to get through to what that means later, but for now we'll stick with 3, right? We're not making an optimal cannon of any kind. We're just going to demonstrate a number of different things you can do. So 3 is probably fine. Yeah, let's make a 4, just because that gives me 3. Screw it, 3 will be easier. Then you want several other things. You want shell parts. Now, shell parts are important. Shell parts are what is used to make a shell, as you may have guessed by the name. So ammo from the ammo barrels is used to make shell parts, like instantly. Shell parts are then used to make shells, and then shells are fed to your turret at a certain rate. So if we grab the shell parts, we can put them there. We can put them here. I mean, you don't really need as many shell parts as I'm putting on, probably. It depends on the gauge of your cannon, which we'll get onto later. This is a lot more complicated than custom cannons, so do bear with me. You then need an output feeder. Now, output feeders are really important. This is the thing that will connect to the input feeder on your turret and allow you to actually get the ammo. So I'm just going to place a load for now. Now, if you place them there, you can't. Place them there, you can. So they need to be attached to these guys. If we try and place them anywhere else... Can't do it like that. You have to do it like that. So they need to be bottom out. I'm going to place 12 for the moment, because that's fine. And you also need, at least for the moment, an ammo router. The ammo router is very important. Ammo router. Event for routing ammo cables from constructibles to subconstructibles. If you want an ammo feeder from a hull to a turret, you'll need one of these on both. They can be placed anywhere. So for now, you just need one of these on the hull and one of them on the turret. They may disappear in future. They're currently just a thing to connect the two. So if we then pop over to the turret, we should be able to load shells in. But first, let's explain about ammo, and specifically shells. So this is our current shell. You notice that each block is in fact 2 sections, and we have 6 sections on this because it's 3 blocks long. So, currently, it defaults to just gunpowder. Gunpowder is your propellant, obviously. It's what pushes your shell out the barrel. More gunpowder, faster shell. Less gunpowder, bigger shell, in effect. So if we have a look at this, we'll be like, okay, roughly, rule of thumb for the moment, 50-50. Half should be gunpowder, half should be your warhead. So let's put on, base bleeder. Releases gas from the base of the shell to allow the low-pressure air behind the shell. It allows a moderate speed increase for the shell. So this is another type of pushy thing, in effect. You can have it other than gunpowder. We're going to be talking about each section a little bit later, but let's just put on some HE warhead body, and then on the nose, you want a shell nose only, and you can choose from all of these lovely different things. We're going to talk about them later. For now, we're going to go with an AP-capped head. And you can notice that this is now our shell, and doesn't it look pretty? Gunpowder, 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 high explosive, AP-capped. And you notice that you've got a load of statistics down here. And then this, shell statistics, gauge slider is for reference only, exclamation mark. This does not do anything other than tell you stuff. So we can go and check the gauge on our cannon, and for the moment, let's do it. Hello. Your gauge is currently 0.06, so it's a 6 centimeter, 60 millimeter shell. If we go over here, we can be like, okay, you're currently set to 60 millimeter. So, firing this shell, what would we need? Gauge increase is 0. Good, we haven't got any. Optimal barrel length for accuracy, 2.2 meters. Optimal barrel length for propellant burn, 2.9 meters. Well, we need a 3 meter long barrel then, really, to get the most out of this. We've got a 5 meter long barrel, fine. Length of shell, we need 1 meter, bear that in mind. Shell length, if we lose the casing, is only 0.18 meters. Expected muzzle velocity, 236 meters per second. Ammo part cost 1.9. Each of those holds 10, those blocks, so we've got loads of ammo parts. Expected reload time from clip, 1.6. Expected time to pass to ammo clip is 3.2. So, to take a shell from an ammo clip on the turret into the barrel itself is 1.6 seconds. To take a shell from here to the turret itself is 3.2. That's important to know. Expected time for barrel to cool down. Now, barrels have this thing where if you fire a lot of shells, or you fire big shells, very fast. They heat up the barrel, and the barrel will start to do weird things. It'll become more inaccurate, which means that you have to wait for the barrel to cool down. Now, you can force that to ignore the cooldown and fire more rapidly, but if you do that, you get like increasing inaccuracy and shorter range and stuff. So for the purposes of this, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to say that is another cap on how fast you can fire. So we can only fire once every 0.12 seconds. However, we're actually loading slower than that, so that's fine. Expected recoil, expected kinetic damage, expected armor pierce, expected explosive, radius of explosion, hesh, spalling, hesh thumper. We'll talk about that later. So currently we know some stats about this. We need a 3 meter long barrel, and we know some stuff about the reload time. We have a long enough barrel. So let us start talking about actually loading those shells. So if we want to load those shells, we will need autoloader. So you've got currently these types of autoloaders. There is plans, or there were plans, I don't know if still are, to have an 8 meter autoloader. But for now, we've only got these types. This is a different type of autoloader. We'll get onto that later. So we only need a 1 meter autoloader. The shell said I only need a 1 meter autoloader. Your shells aren't big enough. There we go. We can put an autoloader here. And 0 shells and 0 racks, 1 times faster due to multiple clip inputs. So you can get them firing faster with multiple clip inputs. So let's go grab a clip. Again, 1, 2, and 3, 4 meters. So let's grab a clip. Now notice that it's got different inputs. It's got that sort of flattened base one, and then it's got the prongy ones. The flattened base is the one that has to go into the actual autoloader. So let's put it to the side. And you can actually add multiple on if you want. So let's add 2 for the moment, just so you can see them working. Rack contains 0 shells with a volume usage of 0%. And it's firing 1 time faster. Now, if we put on extra ones of these, 1 times faster due to multiple clip inputs. Oh, maybe you need shells in them to update. But just bear in mind that it will fire faster if you can add multiple clips to one autoloader. So, for now, let us get a ammo input feed. And you can add multiple of these to clips. And you can also add them to autoloaders. But they are a lot slower going to autoloaders. So, we can actually add one here as well. Boop. I don't think you can add them like this. No, you can't. So this is basically as many as I could get. Now, I could put one on the top here as well. I could put one under here. And then, control to our subconstructible blah blah blah. No ammo router on the turret. So we need an ammo router. So let's go ammo controller, ammo router, bam. And then, you can see that we've got... Oh, there's a control over here that has 12 parts connected. Well, let's assign all underside intakes to this ammo source. Bam. So we've got 9 here, there's 12 over there. We've taken 9 of the 3, there's only 9 of the 12, there's only 3 left. And you can see it loading shells. And look, you can see the shells actually in the clip. Let me get my view over there. Thank you. Look how beautiful it is. Ah, lovely. You fully loaded? Yep. Okay. 69 shells in 2 shell racks, 1 time faster due to more clip inputs. And if we then grab the turret, that should be every 1.6 seconds. And if we go, there we go, kinetic damage 220, speed about 230. Armor pierce 4.4, explosive 116, fragment damage 54. Okay, lovely. And there we go. We've made our very own first cannon. And it fires reasonably fast. Now, of course, if you wanted to make it run faster, you could do some stuff for that. So if we grab a clip, and we put a clip here, we put a clip here, and then we go, I would like to assign, and we've taken 12 of 12. And then you say there it says firing 0.577 times faster due to multiple clip inputs. So, in theory, we should reload a little bit faster. There we go. We're firing about every 0.9 seconds now. Now, you can actually make that fire faster again. We could add another autoloader with more clips, and that would fire faster again, because it's then got 2 autoloaders passing its shells. However, we would need more inputs over here. See? So let us quickly do something with this. I'm not gonna add more autoloaders. You already know about that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the gauge. So if we go to advanced cannons, gauge increase. You've got three different things here. You've got a gauge cooling unit, which slows down the cooldown time. Currently, we don't have an issue with cooldown. A gauge left or right splitter, and a gauge increase. Now, you can only put gauge things behind this, behind the firing piece. They have to be here. They don't work anywhere else. So you could either go, I want to make a massive cannon. Or you could get a left-right splitter. Delete that. Gauge increase. And then the gauge increase down here. And then we see that we have a barrel that is shell diameter, 0.788. Okay, so let's go check out what that would be, because we need to go get information from this shell. So, hello, shell. What would happen if you were 0.1788? You would need a shell rack length of 2 meters. We need to upgrade our rack length then. Shell length would be 0.5 when you lose the casing on the back. Expected muzzle velocity, blah, blah, blah. Ammo parts needed. A lot of this has changed. And we also need barrel length propellant burn would be 8.6. So let's back out of here. We need to change up our ammo loaders. So go to the turret. We also need to go for a longer barrel. Let's just do the longer barrel first. So that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. That should be enough for propellant burn. And let's just remove this entirely. It's probably the easiest way to do it. And then autoloader, 2 meter autoloader. I would like a 2 meter clip. And I would like a ammo feeder. And then at the sides. And then here. And since this one's not connected, you can only connect one on the top. And then here as well. And then we can be like, I would like to connect all. And you notice that the shells are now larger. You can see them down the bottom there. They're actually reversed. Come on, give me some shells. Give me some shells. Oh, well, it's still loading down here. There is a current small bug in which it can actually load slightly more than the volume in my experience, but we'll see. So it's loading up the top here. Come on, load me some more shells. There we go, and it's loading down here. Now, let's go check the fire rate on this. Fire rate. 8.22 seconds, with a time to pass shells to the clip of 16.4. Which does mean that because we're speeding up, we expect to be firing every 5 seconds, since we are speeding up by 0.57. So if we go out here. And we can see that the cooldown on this is 3.93. So even if we added another autoloader, we would still be limited by our cooldown. Now, of course, you can change the cooldown by adding, say, gauge increase cooldown units. So let's add just crazy amount of those just to demonstrate. Electrify the gun. Cooldown is now 3 seconds, so we've lost basically almost a second off the cooldown time. There are other ways of doing that. So if we have a look at what we need to have a look at, it would be barrel. There's a bore evacuator and a muzzle brake. So muzzle brake reduces recoil, but slightly lowers the speed. We're a fixed platform. We don't have problems with recoil, but it's important to remember that you can reduce the recoil with this. Bore evacuator. The bore evacuator prevents gases from leaking back into the firing piece. It provides a modest reduction in cooldown time, but prevents a weak point in the barrel. The effect does not stack. So you want a bore evacuator. It is a weak point, so I'm going to add it to the end. I mean, you could just replace one of the end pieces, too. And that should reduce cooldown a little bit. It does present a weak point, but since it's at the end, if it breaks, you haven't lost the entire barrel. And then if we were to aim, looks just as well. Let's look at the thing. It says, oh, speed just a little less than 300. Kinetic damage, 1400. Explosive damage, 600. Arm piercing is 5.5. And so that's pretty cool. Now, if we were to, say, get this running via AI, and then present it with a target, Can't put the AI underneath. I'm going to have to put the AI next to it. Which presents a problem for this, because it's actually going to clip. Can I? Oh, no, I can put the AI underneath. Awesome. AI. Local weapon controller. Boop, boop. And then main frame. Right. And in theory, just don't get shot. If I spawn someone in, say an Atlas. Now, it's not going to have the range to reach the Atlas until the Atlas gets a little bit closer. Well, it's not going to stop it from trying. Oh, that was a valiant effort. Oh, nice! Ah, miss. Balloon. Now, I notice that the fire rate is, you know, every 4 seconds. It's not doing what the crazy old custom cannons used to do, which is you could have, like, rapid firing, massive gauge cannons. That is kind of one of the main points about the advanced cannon update, is to make it so that you can't do that anymore. Which is understandable, you know? And it also gives you a lot more variety, especially in how you can create your shells to have, like, different properties. Now, currently we're just using a plain old explosive shell. It doesn't really do much. It's got a very low AP. Probably enough to be able to get through its armor on here, but in general, it's just an explosive shell. Come on, hit the hull. Do some, like, actual cool damage. Demonstrate me some hull damage. There we go! Look at that. Nice big chunk out of the wood. It's not a crazy cannon. It's a pretty bog standard cannon, really, if we're honest. There's nothing crazy fancy about this cannon. Nice! Of course, it is shooting wood, so, you know, we don't expect anything to really give up much of a fight. Very good. And if you want, you can take control of it. Now, I don't have a fire predictor on here, which is a problem. So if I was to, you know, go into build mode, add a fire predictor, I would need to add a fire predictor onto one of these, so go into advanced cannon, fire predictor, and then if I was to say take manual control, look at the lovely damage. Absolutely gorgeous. It's a beauty. It is just a beauty. I love the new cannon system. And it's doing crazy good damage. Well, not crazy good, but it just looks very nice, especially when you've had so much choice over customizing it. So, let's get back up here. You can go up to a maximum of a half-meter size shell, and of course you can make it a long shell, you can do what you want. Now, things affect different things. If we make this longer, it will still use the same diameter, so we wouldn't need any more gauge increases, but you might need a longer shell rack. It would also slow down the passing of the shell, because the shell would be bigger. Maybe not bigger in terms of its diameter, but longer. It would slow down the passing of the shell. But it would mean you can have more payload, more gunpowder to make it fly faster, etc. Now, let's have a quick look at what you can do with these shells. Let's actually talk about this. So, currently, we have an accuracy. I think you have to go to the turret to see the accuracy. Hello, turret. I'd like to talk to you about your accuracy. Inaccuracy, 0.8. Inaccuracy can be reduced a few ways. So you can have a longer barrel. It does affect it kind of slightly. It takes a very long barrel to reduce inaccuracy. You can do it with fins on the shell itself, which if we go over here, is an actual object. If we go to middle, stabilize the fin body. If we were to add this, it would make it have, you know, less explosions because it's got only 1 HE. But now that it's got a stabilizer fin, if we actually back out there, you can see the stabilizer fin there. That decreases the speed, but increases the inaccuracy. So it does less kinetic, 0.7. Speed is 0.95. Armor pierce actually goes down as well, 0.5. But it does increase the inaccuracy. Inaccuracy is reduced to 8%. However, currently as it stands, I don't know if that's really enough to really see the loss in the arm penetration, the kinetic. However, This is a dev build, very close to the release, but it is a dev build, and, there'll be some tweaking. Even after the release, there'll be some slight tweaking. So expect all of these to change. You've also got a load of other stuff, so we're just going to go through them very quickly. HE is your normal explosive. Stable other thing, we've been over that. Frag warhead. This is your normal frag. So you can have a little bit of a frag there. You can then change the cone. You can change the elevation offset. So then you've got solid warhead body. Solid warhead body has a nice amount of kinetic, so it increases the kinetic, increases the speed, and the armor pierce modifier as well goes up. It doesn't have any explosions, but it does make it go faster, do more damage, kinetic, and has a nice armor pierce. So if we add this, you will see the armor pierce goes up to 6.3, kinetic damage goes up, and the speed will go up, etc. Inertial fuse. Fuse detonates when course change is measured. Ricochet, shield disruption, or reflection skims can set this off. Useful for developing shape charge warheads or explosive warheads to damage shielded vehicles. So basically, if you have a vehicle which will ricochet shells of it because it's got a very sloped armor surface, like I've been making quite a lot in my campaigns, I've been very much focused on that, or you've got a shield that bounces shells, if you have an inertial fuse, it will go, oh, I've changed direction, detonate. So that'll allow the explosion to happen. It will, affect the armor. It will go through the shield, of course, because explosions go through shields. It only affects solid projectiles. This is useful for those sort of circumstances. You've also got an EMP warhead. A modest EMP charge. It's not maybe as good as a missile EMP charge, but it does mean that you can set off an EMP charge, reduce the armor modifier, reduce the kinetic modifier, because it's meant to go off as soon as it hits the surface, and it will sort of create an EMP charge that may take out vulnerable things like shields. Saber warhead body. So the Saber warhead body is more about the speed. Speed is 1.4. Arm penetration modifier, 2.5. Kinetic damage modifier, 3. Not quite as good for kinetic as the solid warhead body, but it's much more about arm pierce. However, presence of this warhead sets explosive damage to 25%. Basically, if you're looking for a high velocity penetrator, this is the one. It does not really synergize with high explosives. I don't know if it really functions with the body as well. I think it functions on the body since it says it does, but it used to be just for the head. Time fuse. Basically, after a certain time, the warhead will explode. This, along with altitude fuse, great for doing flak. You can do flak guns. You can literally be like, boom, 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 set a flak cloud. You can have enemy bombs coming into your flak cloud and firing these like frag shells that explode at altitudes or after a certain time. Great for that. I'll talk about them probably in a separate video since this one is going on. Penetration depth fuse. This is awesome. So if you create a cannon that has a nice high AP, a big cannon, and you don't want the shells to just be exploding on the surface, and you don't want the shells just be going through the enemy ship, you want it to explode inside the enemy ship. So, like AP warheads, high velocity to have a nice AP, a few other things like that. A couple of high explosive. You then add a penetration depth fuse. If I add a penetration depth fuse, you'll see we get some options. Depth, distance, and first surface time. So what you need is the depth distance to be set to however many meters after hitting the surface you want it to explode. So say 8 meters. 8 meters into the enemy ship, it explodes, taking out the internals of this big battleship. Great. It bypasses the armor. Instead of doing damage to the armor, it does damage to the internals. That's awesome. However, if it went through a very thin section of the ship, you'd still want it to explode. So then you've got first surface time, which means that whichever of these happens first, I will explode. If I pass 10 meters, I will explode. So say it's 10 meters, I explode. If I get to a second, I explode. So it's great. So, if your shell stops, it explodes. If your shell penetrates 10 meters of ship, it explodes. I love penetration depth fuses. They're only useful on shells that will actually get the armor pierced to get through the armor to explode. And of course, they take up a section, but they are so good. Penetration depth fuse, armor pierce modifier, kinetic damage modifier, They do have a drawback, but they are so cool. Having one of the explode inside a Marauder is awesome. You've also got, proximity fuse. We talked about other fuses, but proximity fuse explodes near an enemy craft. They can be a little bit derpy sometimes, but the idea is that you can also then use them for stuff like flat clouds, etc., for very fast flying vehicles, etc. Altitude fuse, like I said, explodes at a certain altitude. You can also set an offset for this in the time fuse. So if you want them to explode and then throw shrapnel at the enemy aircraft, you don't want them exploding next to the enemy aircraft because the shrapnel will go behind them. You can then say explode a second before or 0.2 seconds before. Explode 15 meters before your altitude. These are great. Like I said, I'm going to talk about them later. Rear only, you've got your gunpowder casings over here. which I don't know why it's not rear only. You've also then got a base bleeder, which is new. So the base bleeder releases gas from the blah, 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 blah. It allows moderate speed increase of the shell. Now, currently these need balancing, but if we add them, you'll see, let me see, where's our muzzle velocity? 291, arm pierce 5.4. Notice that our expected muzzle velocity went down, and the expected arm pierce went down. Invalid design. Why? Oh, it needs to be there. I think. Behind the shell. Yes. But notice that currently it's reduced both the expected muzzle velocity and the armor pierce. I think it needs tweaking currently. Really, the base bleeder isn't of much use as it stands, but it may get tweaked before release, in which case, don't worry about it. So this is why I'm not going over those in sort of too much detail about balancing and what is best. I don't talk about what is best because that is for talk for another time. Let's talk about shell noses. Okay. You've got a moderate selection here. Hollow point head. Hollow point head flattens on first impact and imparts all kinetic damage on the surface of an arm, piercing value of 4, useful for taking out small unarmored targets. So a hollow point in real life is a soft-headed like bullet, and what happens is when it hits the surface, the head fragments, and these fragments travel into the body. They're not good at arm penetration because they're designed to fragment when hitting a surface, which this shell does. What it does, however, is does its damage in a radius. It's very much like the kinetic warhead on a thumper warhead in the game. So as soon as it hits the surface, it doesn't go any further, and then it takes all its kinetic damage and it turns it into an area explosion in inverted commas. So basically, instead of using explosive damage, it uses its kinetic damage. Good. It won't penetrate through the target, but it will do a lot of damage to the surface. Now, maybe not good against metal, because metal can soak up quite a lot of damage, but great against wood. You've also then got the saber warheads. So saber warheads basically are a tiny little shell fired from a bigger cannon. And what happens is this tiny little... As you can see there, you can see that on the end of the shell as it spins around, it's got a very pointy bit, and then it's got a big bit behind it. So what happens is that shell leaves the barrel. Everything around the tiny warhead breaks away, and you've got a much smaller warhead. So the diameter of the shell suddenly gets much smaller. And because it's smaller and it takes all the energy, because the rest of it falls away, it flies faster. So you get sabers traveling at like 1.7 kilometers per second, I think is a saber warhead speed, for instance. And the idea of them is they're meant to be anti-tank. They're meant to penetrate really deep through armor and just shoot out the back. Now, because they're smaller, they don't have as much impact. They can't take much explosives with them or whatever. In real life, they don't really. They're just, solid. And from the depths, this is mimicked by the fact that it sets the presence of explosive to 25%. They're not really designed to take explosives with them. They're designed to just punch through the hull, as you saw in my railgun earlier. Arm pierce modifier 5.5, kinetic modifier 3.5. So they're designed to be fast, arm penetrating, but not do like explosive damage. Shaped charge head. So let's put a shaped charge head on. What a shaped charge is basically it normally has copper in it and explosives shaped around the copper to, when it hits the surface and detonates, explodes. This melts the copper, sending the copper into basically a stream of molten metal, and the superheated molten metal basically burrows its way through the armor. And that's what it does. That's the principle behind shaped charges. And because of this, it's really good at creating explosive streams. So it has no AP because it explodes on first contact, but uses all of its immediately connected explosive charges to blast a stream of superheated arm-piercing copper into the target. So this HE, because it's directly connected to the head, will be used to create a blast inwards into the target. Basically, instead of being AP, it's using its explosive power to tunnel. So, again, you might want this to defeat armor. That's what it's designed to do. AP capped head. And this is your bog standard head. AP capped head is a standard shell which provides an increase in AP with a low change to shell fragment post armor. So it's your bog standard warhead. It doesn't do anything fancy. Composite head. Now this is basically a variant of the AP. Now the composite head, as you can see, is slightly pointier as it spins around. It's slightly pointier than the capped head. The composite head is a high velocity AP for thin to medium armor that is likely to fragment if the armor is too great. It's faster, it does more kinetic, it does more AP than the capped head. However, if the armor is too thick, it breaks apart on the surface and it doesn't penetrate. So the composite head is kind of a trade-off. If you're going to fight something that's got less armor, use the composite head. If you try and fire against something that's got thick armor, it will fragment on the surface and it won't do anywhere near as much damage as, say, the capped head would do, which would burrow its way a little bit further in. And then you've got the squash head. Squash Head significantly lowers AP, but concentrates all explosives placed directly behind it into a shockwave that can create interior spalling and destroy huge chunks of vehicle walls. In real life, the squashed head works thusly. It hits the surface, it flattens against a surface, and then explodes. So you've got a big surface area in which it's connected to. What happens is, when it explodes with a big surface area, it creates a shockwave in the metal. Because, you can create shockwaves in solid objects, like that's what an earthquake is. This shockwave travels through the metal, hits the other side, and goes, oh, I've stopped. What do I do? I can't push anything. There's nothing here to push. So the kinetic damage is absorbed, and there's so much of it that bits of metal fly off the interior at excessive speeds. And it is an anti-tank weapon. It's designed in real life to, you fire the shell, it hits the tank, squishes against the tank, it explodes. The shockwave travels through the tank armor, hits the inside. The energy has to go somewhere. It gets absorbed by the metal. Bits of it fly off at high velocities and turns the tank's inner armor into basically bullets. This shrapnel flies off the armor, and without a hole being created in the tank, can kill the crew. Now, this is why modern tanks have padding and stuff on the inside of their armor. It's not to be comfy for the crew, it's to prevent interior spalling. This is what it's called, spalling. So what it does in From the Depths is it hits the surface and then can destroy interior sections based on how much HE you put behind the squash head. That's what we have. So we have a massive selection. Really, the variety is almost mind-boggling in that what you can do. It's going to take a while for everyone to figure out what is best for certain circumstances. I imagine there will be some best setups for certain things, but there's so much you can do and so much creation, and probably so many crazy things you can do if you overdo the system. It'll be amazing. So if we look, oh my god, look what the shell would do if it was half a meter. Muzzle velocity wouldn't be too great because, of course, it's a very large, heavy shell. The recoil force would be crazy. Kinetic damage would be nice. Arm pierce would be very low because it's got a squash head. Expected explosive damage would be crazy. And then the interior spalling would be amazing. If I put a saber warhead on, you can see that the explosive is going to be tiny because saber warhead creates very little explosions. But look at the kinetic. Oh, and look at the arm pierce. That's nice as well. So that will go through a metal wall. And so you can try different shells. It gives you so much creativity. And all of this can be fed, well, maybe not at that diameter, but all of this can just be fed into this cannon. And you can just change your loadout and decide what you would like. And it's amazing. Now, this is the bog standard cannon. I will do another video. I know I've gone for 40 minutes because I love the new cannon system. But there is going to be another video. And what I'll do in the next video is I'll talk about the laser targeter and stuff like flak cannons. I'll talk about railguns. And I'll also talk about belt feed autoloaders, which are designed for rapid firing cannons that then can spend a lot of time reloading. But I've been EnterElysium. I will be back with you in another video. Until then, stay shiny. And if you liked, remember to like, not subscribe, please consider subscribing. And tell me below how much you're hyped for this update, because I'm so hyped for this update. You could do so many cool things. Yay!